So according to the New York Post, this is how the Corporate Equality Index, which is funded by George Soros, holds corporations essentially hostage to their radical transgender political agenda. The Post writes, businesses that attain the maximum 100 total points earn the coveted title of Best Place to Work for LGBTQ Equality. 15 of the top 20 Fortune-ranked companies received 100% ratings last year, this according to HRC, the Human Rights Campaign. More than 840 U.S. companies racked up high CEI, Corporate Equality Index scores, according to the latest report. The Human Rights Campaign, which was formed in 1980 and started the Corporate Equality Index in 2002, well, look what we have there, is led by Kelly Robinson, who was named as president in 2022 and worked as a political organizer for Barack Obama's 2008 presidential campaign. Oh, okay, so the Human Rights Campaign started the Corporate Equality Index. It is now funded by George Soros and his Open Society Foundation, and it's run by a former political organizer for Barack Obama. Can we just pause here for a moment and talk about Barack Obama? I feel like Barack Obama does not get the credit he deserves as the radical that he is. When in 2008, very few people were talking about Marxism the way that we're talking about cultural Marxism, especially now. Very few people were talking about, critical race theory. We hadn't even heard of critical race theory in 2008, but very few people were identifying a cultural phenomenon and tracing it back to its Marxist roots, which is extremely important to do now, since that's the number one threat we're facing in our country. No one was saying, queer theory, trace it back to its neo-Marxist roots, right? This document written by Gail Rubin, who is a neo-Marxist, writing about how to exploit transgender people, tell them they're so marginalized that their only recourse, their only way to be included in society is to overthrow their white, Christian, straight, quote unquote, cis oppressors. We weren't talking about that back in 2008. And Barack Obama, and this was a mistake, by the way, because Barack Obama was one of these radicals. He is one of these radicals. We just didn't notice it. We didn't notice it. The only person who noticed this was Andrew Breitbart. At the time, during Barack Obama's tenure as president, Andrew Breitbart released a video of Barack Obama from Obama's college years. And in this video of Barack Obama was defending a man by the name of Derek Bell. I remember watching this video at the time, and I remember buying Derek Bell's books after this, because Andrew Breitbart, at the time, he was the savage, the based conservative leader. I was a young conservative, and I thought, okay, if Andrew Breitbart thinks it's important, he thinks it's a news story, a bombshell revelation that Barack Obama's defending Derek Bell, I want to understand this. I don't want to just take his word for it. I want to understand who Derek Bell is. So I bought Derek Bell's books. I think I actually still have them on a bookshelf in my basement. And Derek Bell is one of the founding members of critical race theory. Derek Bell is one of the biggest propagators of this neo-Marxist racial superiority, racial inferiority ideology that has poisoned our country. And when he was in college, Barack Obama was on video defending him. If that happened now, if we came up with a video of Joe Biden doing the same thing, it would be the end of Joe Biden's political career, at least among certainly Republicans and conservatives, but centrists and independents and rational-minded Democrats, maybe who have children in public schools, who've seen the evils of critical race theory. Back then, it obviously didn't impact the outcome of either election. I don't think people really grasped at the time, even Republicans didn't grasp at the time, the depth to which cultural Marxism, these neo-Marxist theories had been embedded in our country, and how many politicians had been poisoned by this, who were essentially secret radicals. I know that sounds conspiratorial, but now it's just it's easy to see the objective reality of the thing. So back to now, back to modern day. Maybe it's less of a surprise then that the Human Rights Campaign, which started the Corporate Equality Index, which is a radical transgenderism I call it an activist organization, but essentially what they're doing is just holding corporations hostage. It's actually like a mafia operation, forcing this radical neo-Marxist theory into workplaces across the country, into the largest corporations in our nation. And it's run by a former community organizer, political organizer of Barack Obama. Every single factor of this program is the biggest red flag possible and should cause every company to run the opposite direction. So what the Corporate Equality Index measures when they're rating or ranking a company on this index, they measure 5 things. They measure workforce protections for LGBTQ people, inclusive benefits, supporting an inclusive culture, corporate social responsibility, and responsible citizenship. So workforce protections, inclusive benefits, supporting an inclusive culture, those are all pretty self-explanatory. But what exactly is corporate social responsibility and responsible citizenship? This means that not only do you have to have a tolerant workplace, not only do you have to provide benefits if you have an employee that, is gay married to a person of the same sex. That's not what they're talking about. They're not talking about things internally at your workplace. Corporate social responsibility and responsible citizenship means you are ranked as a company, as a corporation, on your political activism, on whether you not just passively include LGBTQ people in your workplace and provide benefits for them, but whether you take part in the revolution of transgenderism that has nothing to do with your business outside of your corporate workplace. So if a corporation is not actively virtue signaling to the world, using their money and their influence as the biggest company, some of the biggest companies, not only in our country, but in the world, to push this ideology, you will be downgraded on the Corporate Equality Index. It's like the perfect mafia hostage-taking shakedown. These companies are scared of having low Corporate Equality Index. I don't understand why these companies don't just group together and say, let's collectively agree that we should, flush ESG down the toilet. Let's just ignore these. Who cares if we get a bad rating? But they don't. They are held hostage. The Corporate Equality Index and the Human Rights Campaign actively sends representatives to corporations and big companies if they are not adequately scoring high enough on these indexes. So if you are not engaging in political activism as a company outside of your workplace in a way that satisfies this radical transgenderism agenda, they're going to actually send someone knock, knock, knock at your door. It's a threat. It's actually a mafia shakedown. If you don't do what we say, we're not going to protect you from the political pressure and the media pressure and the cultural pressure. And we're going to make sure that the political sphere and the media and the culture knows that you're unfriendly to our pet cause. It is a shakedown. So now you understand why Budweiser partnered with Dylan Mulvaney. Because this is part of their corporate social responsibility, their responsible citizenship. If they don't actively promote transgenderism, actively promote queer theory, then they're downgraded. This is how deeply embedded into our culture ESG already is. Hi guys, it's Liz Wheeler. Don't forget to watch my show, The Liz Wheeler Show, every night at 7 p.m. on the First TV. You can download the free First TV app, or you can visit thefirsttv.com/Liz and start watching today.